With all four wild card rounds now in the rearview mirror, we focus on the upcoming American League and National League Division Series. All four series getting underway on Saturday. Lindsay, Crosby, and I are going to preview all four. MLB Game Night, postseason edition, and we are underway.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Running, and yes, we are ready to have some fun. MLB Game Night, every game, every night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. He is Lindsay Crosby. He is the host of the Locked On Braves Postcast. You can follow Lindsay on the X at Crosby Baseball. I'm Steve Lenox, host of the Locked On Red Sox Postcast. You can follow me on the X at Lenox on Baseball. We're going to be hitting on all four series over the next 30-plus minutes. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers. Brian McKeon, Locked On Yankees, and one of our co-hosts on MLB Game Night, going to join us live here on MLB Game Night postseason edition. We're also going to hear from Sam Olbert, Connor Thomas. We're going to hear the Dodgers' perspective, the Mariners, the Blue Jays, and all 8 teams that continue in their pursuit of a World Series title. We are presented by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first $5 bet wins, you're going to receive $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. Download the FanDuel app today. Lindsay, before we get underway, and we're going to open up with Dodgers-Phillies in segment number 1, maybe a final thought or two from you on the just completed wild card round.
It felt like the teams that had sloppy defense and couldn't nail the fundamentals paid for it. And so I'm hoping we see some cleaner baseball tomorrow, simply because it got a little bit messy at times on Thursday.
And that's one of the things I was putting together, and it was like one of the last focal points for Cubs-Brewers, because those two teams play terrific defense, and we certainly saw that highlighted in the Cubs winning 2 out of 3 against the Padres at Wrigley.
Yeah, Dansby Swanson up the middle, Nico Horner, Pete Crow Armstrong. They just were running everything down, and San Diego really didn't have an answer. Like, they'd get a ball into play, and you would think this is a base hit up the middle, and Dansby would get there, or PCA would race it and snag it. And so I'm curious to see how differently does Milwaukee attack Chicago's defense, right?
All right, let's go ahead.
What happens there? Yeah.
Let's get right into it now. Our first preview going to be Dodgers-Phillies, games 1 and 2, going to be in Philadelphia. And it's interesting, we'll get into the National League Series here, but these two teams are going to have an off day scheduled in on Sunday before they play game 2. Any advantage for the Dodgers and Phillies with this? Because both teams do have their pitching rotation set up just the way they want.
I feel like this probably helps the Dodgers a little bit more, simply because Phillies had this layoff, right? And so everybody's rested on Philadelphia's side. But for LA, and I know we're going to talk about this, but like Tyler Glasnow didn't pitch in the last round. Do you use him in relief of Shohei Ohtani on Saturday and then use the day off to maybe bring him back early in the series? Maybe you give him a single inning on Saturday and you bring him back for multiple innings in games 2 or 3. But I think it helps the Dodgers a little bit more because they get more time to give everybody on the bullpen some rest.
And interesting, too, the teams that get that wild card round bye, Phillies in this case, with Dodgers-Phillies getting underway in Philadelphia on Saturday, they've come up with some creative ways to stay active. And the Phillies actually brought fans in, 30,000 plus, 31,000 plus a couple of nights ago, as they sort of had a intra-squad scrimmage, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, the scoreboard was going. They actually had fireworks going off the top of the scoreboard. The concessions were open. They had music and everything. It was as close to a game atmosphere as they could make. And I think you've learned in this new format from some of the earlier teams like the Atlanta Braves and things like that, that you need to keep these guys in as competitive of an atmosphere as possible. Although it's still tough to get up against your own guys, but they've done everything possible to recreate that intensity at home against themselves.
Connor Thomas on board with us throughout the course of the Major League Baseball season on MLB Game Night, providing some great insight all season long. He had a great team to follow. He most of the time had a smile on his face, although they had a couple of bumps in the road during the season. Connor also celebrating a birthday, but he gives his perspective on Dodgers Phillies in Game 1 of the series that gets underway Saturday in Philly.
This might be the matchup of the entire postseason for Major League Baseball. It's Phil's Dodgers, and Game 1, there's a huge key for the Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies, and Shohei Ohtani is on the mound for the Dodgers in Game 1. Now, it's the postseason, so it's no holds barred. They might let him throw 7, 8, heck 9 innings if he looks good enough tonight, but during the regular season, he was on a very restrictive innings situation. They pulled him early in a lot of his starts. Will they do that in Game 1? I'm not sure. But what I do know is the Dodgers' number one weak spot is their bullpen. So getting the pitch count up on Ohtani and making Dave Roberts have to make the tough decision of whether he wants to keep Ohtani in the game or hand things over to a bullpen that has looked rough in the postseason and rougher in the regular season. That's how the Phillies really put the pressure on the Dodgers. Their lineup's incredible. Their starters are great. So are the Phillies, by the way. And that's what's going to count a lot in Game 1 is, will the offense show up after a week off? But whatever the case may be, if the Phillies get to the bullpen, I like their chances. If they have to do it against Ohtani, I like their chances. People forget the Phillies had the better record in the regular season. So I'm taking the Fightins in Game 1, but it is going to be a tough one and an awesome environment, Citizens Bank Park.
Trey Turner returning. Christopher Sanchez, he always seems to get lost in the mix, and he's going to play second fiddle as the starter for the Phillies because it's Ohtani on the other side.
He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yes.
And I think the thing here, and Connor was right on it, I trust Phillies rotation to go deeper. The big question for me on both sides really is the bullpen. Yes, you added Johan Duran to the Phillies bullpen at the trade deadline, right? But outside of that, I really wonder about everybody else. They've had off years from Orion Kirkary. I mean, everybody else has struggled in that pen. And so does Sanchez go deeper than Ohtani? I don't want to go so far as to say who the pitcher that goes deeper, that team probably wins, because it's not directly correlated. But I do think you'll see that situation tomorrow. Whichever starting pitcher can go deeper, that team probably wins that game.
Lindsay and I have chipped in for a birthday present for Connor. We have decided that we are not going to sing happy birthday to Connor on MLB Game Night postseason edition. Happy birthday to Connor out with his family on a Friday night in Philadelphia, enjoying a steak dinner. The Dodgers, they take both games from the Cincinnati Reds. So unlike the other 3 wild card series, they did have an extra day's rest in there as well. Let's hear from our Locked On Dodgers expert as we say hello to Harry Ruiz, and he's got the LA perspective on this one.
This is where the big boys play, and the Dodgers, they're used to the bright spotlight of the postseason. 13 years in a row, they've made it to the playoffs. They've won 2 World Series. Now it's time to add another one, and a big component for the boys in blue success in October this year is going to be this man right here, Shohei Ohtani. He has never pitched in the postseason until Saturday. He's going to be the Game 1 starter for the Dodgers. He was very successful against the Phillies just 2 weeks ago when they played each other at Dodger Stadium. 5 no-hit innings. Dave Roberts said to leave him in the game. He put the bullpen in there, and the Dodgers let that game go away from their hands with the bullpen absolutely being terrible. So Shohei, the most he has pitched this year is 6 innings. So if he can give us 6 great innings in Philadelphia in Game 1, I'll like my chances. Let's see if he's able to deliver for the Dodgers in October.
Haven't had a repeat World Series champion since the Yankees won 3 in a row. Where are you feeling right now on the Dodgers?
It's hard for me to say they're not the favorite. I mean, you look at the talent they have on that roster. We talked about Tyler Glasnow. They didn't even use him in the wild card round, and he's probably not in their starting rotation in the first 3 games here either. I mean, they were incredibly deep. Yes, the bullpen's a question, but they've got probably one of the best lineups. They have definitely the best 1 through 3 in the entire postseason. And so it's got to be the Dodgers as the favorite. I think my big question to you, and I kind of want to ask this, who is it more important to get a championship here by doing what he's known for? Is it Shohei Ohtani pitching in the postseason, or is it Bryce Harper? Because Harper's not won one yet.
Right. Yeah. And Bryce Harper still has plenty of good years in front of him, but it's time. It really feels like it's time. He's gotten the Phillies there once.
Yeah.
Lost to the Astros a few years ago, but it just feels like it's time. And, Mookie Betts, I feel like not a great regular season. No. And Harper, too. I really do feel like they could have their fingerprints all over this 5-game series. The biggest thing for me right now with this series to conclude, it's not a 7-game series. It's 5.
Yeah, this is, going 5 games gives you a little bit of a, it's harder for the fluky stuff to make you win. I feel like in a 7-game, definitely, but in a 5-game series, the better team normally comes out on top. And I think Connor was right when he mentioned it. This, to me, is probably the most intriguing matchup of the entire postseason, just because these two teams look like the best teams at different times this year.
Other National League matchup in the division round, Cubs and Brewers underway in Milwaukee on Saturday. We're going to hear from Sam Olber, Locked On Cubs, and Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, is going to join us live on the other side of this quick timeout. This is MLB Game Night, postseason edition.
This episode's brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this MLB postseason with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Because playing Prize Picks is such a fun and simple way to add more excitement to baseball. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Aaron Judge's total bases or Shohei Ohtani's strikeouts, and you're in the game. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute. It's also fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with one click. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
MLB Game Night, postseason edition. Glad you're with us. Steve Lenox, Lindsay, Crosby. We're going to be on Saturday as well into Sunday, recapping all 4 series in the divisional round. Right now, we welcome in Chuck Freeman, doing a great job all season long, Locked On Brewers. And Chuck, as we get into this, we're going to hear from Sam Olber a little bit later on here in segment number 2, Locked On Cubs. But kind of give us an idea of what you took away from the Cubs taking 2 out of 3 from San Diego, and how maybe something could have carried forward to this upcoming series that gets underway in Milwaukee on Saturday.
First of all, great being with you guys. You guys do an amazing job every other night, man. I see you two guys on together, and Hafren and all that. I love the show.
Thanks.
Even with Hafren, it's sometimes good. Despite having him, it's sometimes good. What I took away from that San Diego series, the Cubs, what I think about the Cubs is, and I said this with a couple of shows I was on today, that the Cubs sometimes are very lifeless at the plate. And even in this series against the Padres, they didn't overwhelm me offensively. We heard this year that the Cubs were going to be this great offensive team, and they were going to put up big numbers. Well, they might have did that in April and May, but I felt like most of the summer guys, they didn't. And I saw the manager over there, and he looked familiar. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That guy managed here a couple of years ago, Craig Counsell. We had that same problem when he was over here. We'd be stuck on 2 runs until the 8th inning and hope and pray the bullpen would carry us through. I see the same thing going on with the Cubs. My Cubs are a good team. I'm not belittling them at all. But, man, I feel like the one thing the Brewers do that the Cubs don't do, tacking on runs. The Brewers are very good, especially in late game situations. As you know, guys, I came on a lot of times with these post game videos, and the Brewers finding a way to win a game late in the game. I feel that's a strong intangible to have anytime in any sport, but especially in the baseball playoffs.
On the note of scoring runs late, I feel like the biggest momentum shift we see in the postseason is somebody launching a massive home run. And I've noticed, the Brewers are 22nd in baseball this year in home runs with 166. And everybody else who's down there, the Red Sox, the Guardians, all of those teams are out of the postseason. Is there any concern about this not being your prototypical heavy slugging team, or does the team speed and everything else make up for that?
Lindsay, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people will point to that with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Mhm.
I say this: they won 97 games this year, and the Brewers have a small margin of errors. The Brewers aren't an overly talented team. They don't just stand out. But once you see them play, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't beat themselves. There's a lot of things they do to make up for the lack of power on this team. And they can hit the home run once in a while, but I feel like they really work pitchers' counts. They play great defense. They run the bases well. They steal bases. The bullpen is really good. So I feel like there's other areas. You don't just luck in the 97 wins. And I'm not just saying, I'm not saying it but being a shill for the Brewers, even though I got a Brewer shirt on here. That they're a good team. And guys, Steve and Lindsay, I think they can get there. I think they can get to the World Series despite not having a lot of pop.
Yeah. Flip side of that question is the Brewers' ERA in the bullpen was sixth best in all of baseball this year at 3.63. Best bullpen left in the postseason now that San Diego's out. How much do you need the starters to go deep, or how much can you ride that bullpen a little heavier in October than you did in the regular season?
The one thing about the postseason, guys, is I feel like we see so many unconventional things. Even like yesterday, between the Padres and Cubs, and that series, you see a lot of unconventional things, and I feel like that's what happens. The Brewers haven't had a pitcher go deep all year long. Now, Peralta got the 17 wins, but he had a lot of 5-inning starts in there. So he's not going deep in a game. So I think when you get to the postseason, but the Brewers, here's the one thing about this: the Brewers bullpen is really taxed. They've had a lot of innings because they've had a lot of 5-inning starts this year from guys. So I feel like, I hope that doesn't catch up to them, and I certainly hope it doesn't catch up to them in the postseason. But they got to rely on their bullpen. Their bullpen has been really, really good. But I think Ben McDonald made up this point on TV the other day. When you go to your bullpen so early, you're relying on 4 or 5 different guys getting the job done for you every day. Like the Cubs yesterday and the Padres. They look at you relying on all those guys. All it takes is one guy to get up on the wrong side of the bed, and there goes your season.
Yeah. One guy for us, Chuck, real quick, in the starting lineup that the people that don't know as much as you do, and there's plenty of us, about the Brewers. One guy in the lineup that somebody that fans watching this series should really focus on, especially early on, first couple games.
Guys, I feel like Bryce Terang is an MVP candidate. I know some people look at me like I have 2 heads on my shoulder when I say that.
That's the answer I was hoping for. So go ahead.
Yeah.
And you just looked at me that way, Steve. No, I feel like Terang, he's a guy, because we're buried here in Milwaukee. He's a guy who's a Gold Glove second baseman, can hit 20 home runs a year, can hit for clutch. I feel like when we look at MVP and all this sort of thing, I don't see like the Red Sox play every day, but we look at the numbers, and the people who vote look at the numbers. But I know I watch the Brewers every day, and I see this guy go out there and so many clutch base hits this guy has come up through. And I feel like sometimes that is not taken into account, and that's where I say Terang is an MVP. Now, there's probably other guys who make the same case about some of their guys in this team. But I feel Terang, their second baseman, he's about 5'7", 145 pounds soaking wet, and but he gets it done, man. He gets it done. Him and Frelick. The Brewers have a lot of guys. Man, you go into that locker room and, man, you see 5'6", 5'7". It's like, how are these guys, is this an under 6 foot softball team or what? But they get a lot of things done. And I feel that this is going to be a good team. Now, here's the one thing, guys. They haven't won a postseason series since 2018. A lot of first-round exits there. They got to win this playoff series because a lot of people in this town have bought into these guys. Finally, 97 wins. Is this the year when the last 2 years they've won the division title and fans have been failed in the postseason, haven't been to the World Series since '82? They got to get by. They do got to get by this series with the Cubs. They do.
Chuck, great stuff. Appreciate it. Enjoy this series. It should be a fun one with the Cubs and the Brewers. A lot of terrific storylines that we'll be paying close attention to.
I hope we can talk again, man.
Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, does an outstanding job. Lindsay, let's get to Sam Olber here, as we were hoping to have Sam live. Sam is taking care of some business, and we say hello to Sam and his family as well. But Sam Olber, Locked On Cubs, on board with us, just like Chuck, Locked On Brewers all season long. He's got the Cubs perspective on this series.
Well, it's here. And to be honest with you, it felt like it was always going to be Cubs, Brewers in the NLDS to settle this score maybe once and for all. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast. We're about a day away from game one between the Cubs and Brewers. I mean, so many storylines in this series. I mean, the big one that I think will get the most national attention is Craig Counsell facing his former team. But for me, I don't know. I kind of look at Counsell as a Cub manager now. I'm kind of over that situation. I think it's been proven that the Brewers are a really good organization, not just without Counsell, but without Stearns and without, Hader and without Devin Williams and you name it, they're really good. For me, it's kind of like it's two perspectives. It's the Brewers side of things, getting over that playoff hump, getting over the ghosts of playoff past. They've dominated the NL Central for a while now, since 2018, but they haven't been able to win consistently in the postseason. And for the Cubs, it's about getting over those Brewers ghosts, that Brewers hump of, hey, the Brewers have kind of dominated, not as much the Cubs head-to-head, but they've dominated the NL Central really since 2018, like I just said. So can the Cubs, kind of like they did in 2015 to the Cardinals, kind of slay that dragon and figure out a way to finally beat the Milwaukee Brewers? I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is what it's all about. Both teams a little bit banged up or quite a bit banged up with their starting rotations. We know both teams' strengths and weaknesses. We're going to premiere an episode tomorrow with Chuck from Locked On Brewers talking about that more. But just enjoy it, man. Cubs, Brewers, 5-game series. Who's the best team in the NL Central? Who gets to go to the NLCS?
Great stuff from Sam Olber. Lindsay, real quick, based on what Sam said there, I feel like of the 4 teams that just came off a wild card series victory, the Cubs, not momentum, but just the ability to go into Milwaukee, steal game 1. And as Chuck alluded to, I think if the Brewers were down 0-1, all of a sudden those thoughts start to creep into their heads of, oh no, here we go again. We've got our backs to the wall and we do have home field advantage.
Milwaukee has to remember, as good as their season was, they lost the season series to the Cubs, 7-6. They were outscored by 4 runs. So this is definitely, Chicago's coming in, I would argue, despite not having home field, they're coming in with the upper hand because they just won a series. Milwaukee, like Chuck said, hasn't won one in a while, and they've shown in the regular season they can beat Milwaukee.
2 segments down, 1 segment to go. We're going to go Yankees, yes, and the Toronto Blue Jays, and Tigers and Mariners. Brian McKeon, host Locked On Yankees, and one of our co-hosts on MLB Game Night, joins us live on the other side.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, you just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love because FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, I've tried player props, I've even followed the live lines during games. And it makes sports just a little more exciting when you've got something right in on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
The Game Night postseason edition. Steve Lenox, Lindsay Crosby, and joined by one of our other co-hosts of MLB Game Night, Brian and I will be on Sunday, wrapping up the 2 games that we'll have game 2s of the division series round. Brian joins us right now from Locked On Yankees as well. And Brian, I'm going to ask the question to, what happened Thursday night, and just 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get into Yankees Blue Jays. But Cam Schlittler, a day later, different perspective or just the same appreciation for what he did over 8 terrific innings in winning game 3 over the Red Sox?
More appreciation, and pleasure to be with you guys. More appreciation. Leaving the stadium, it was more in awe that they won the series and just in awe of what we witnessed live, because every inning you were seeing another thing on the billboard of broke this guy's record, first pitcher since Red Ruffing, since all these names where you're like, geez, did he So but you leave and you get home the next day and you kind of think, wow, I was in the building and like I witnessed history. It was legitimately one of the top 10 playoff pitching performances of all time, not in Yankee history, of all time. That's how good it was.
It was pretty amazing. All right, so we know Aaron Judge is going to be the greatest hitter on the planet. Like he is, no argument there. Who is the next guy that needs to step up behind him? We've talked about postseason Giancarlo Stanton. Jazz Chisholm's been dynamic this year. Who is that next guy for New York?
I love that you asked that question because you bring up the guys like Stanton and Judge, and we just did this on Locked On Yankees, and I don't make it guys like Stanton and Judge because you kind of know what you're going to get out of those guys.
Yeah.
You have to. The Yankees aren't winning a championship if they don't get crazy efforts out of Stanton, out of Judge, out of the guys that are the guys that are in the lap that you expect things from.
Mm-hmm.
It's the unsung heroes, right? And one guy that had a tremendous series in the wild card series that really was a talking point throughout the season, Anthony Volpe, who did not have a good season, but was tremendous with the glove in the field in the wild card series. A couple of error-saving plays. The bat was really good. He was one of the 2 home runs the Yankees had in the wild card series. Austin Wells, but the key X factor I think that is so key in this series, guys, Ben Rice. Ben Rice with the really clutch home run in game 2, but he has been a spark plug all season. A lot of people around baseball don't realize this guy had 26 home runs and had an unbelievable year for them. He is an absolute X factor, spark plug, whatever you want to call it, in the middle of this lineup.
Yeah. With the bullpen, we've seen a lot of kind of Devin Williams struggled all year. How much confidence do you have in the guys back there, in a Weaver, in a Bednar, in a Williams, and everybody else?
Bednar, full confidence. Full confidence, no worries at all coming in. He's proven that to me over time. Tim Hill, if it's against a lefty, full confidence.
Yep.
Here's the thing, though. Now you're getting into those guys where you don't necessarily have full confidence, but it's what they have and what they have to go with. And there are guys in the circle of trust and guys that you will not see unless the game is completely out of hand. Luke Weaver, I trust him to an extent. You heard it in my voice, though.
Yeah.
Do you fully trust him? Not quite, right? Devin Williams, over the last month, has been excellent. Tremendous. Do I fully trust him in a one-run game in a playoff game? Am I clenching a little bit? Absolutely. So it's one of those things where you're kind of, Bednar, full trust. Tim Hill against the lefty, full trust. Fernando Cruz, full trust. The rest of it, I'm a little squeaky on.
Next time Fried gets a start, and that could be in game 2 against the Blue Jays, does Aaron Boone give him the long leash the way he gave Schlittler?
Boy, I certainly hope so. He tried giving Rodon the long leash in game 2, and it was the wrong move because Rodon came out looking really shaky. I hope so. It does. There is a rumor going around New York sports radio syndicates that
Oh boy,
Aaron Boone is a very avid sports radio listener, and I've heard from people that he actually does. He does listen to Yankee podcasts. He does listen to sports radio. He is very caring about what is said about his team. I think he heard the storm that went off about taking Fried out in that game. And clearly he did, because if you saw the way that he treated Rodon and Schlittler, it was way different than the way that he treated the guy that the Yankees just gave $218 million to, the highest left-handed contract ever handed out. So he listens, he hears. I think it will 100% be treated differently.
great stuff. We will see you Sunday night. Enjoy game 1 in Toronto on Saturday. Thank you, Brian.
Appreciate it, boys. I'm nervous, but appreciate you, boys.
What Yankee fan isn't? Sometimes those nerves, you just don't understand them, but they do exist. They are real. Lindsay, on the other side for the Blue Jays, they win the division on the final day of the regular season. They've been waiting in the wings patiently, and now they get to going. The lights are on for John Schneider and the Blue Jays. Game 1, they'll host the first 2 games. They'd have game 5 at home as well. Let's hear from Braden, Locked On Blue Jays, and get his thoughts on what is going to be a fun series. And by the way, the first ever playoff series with Toronto and New York.
Jays fans, the time has finally come. Game 1, Blue Jays versus the New York Yankees. And just as everyone thought, Kevin Gausman takes the bump for Game 1. Now for the New York Yankees, little unclear. Could be Luis Gil. It could be Will Warren.
It's not.
Either way, I absolutely love this for the Blue Jays. This is the whole reason why getting the bye was perfect for this team. It allows you to start Kevin Gausman Game 1 against not one of their top guys, we'll say. Bo Bichette, still unclear if he's going to participate in the ALDS. We said, I don't think so. But John Schneider has come out and said nothing is off the table. He hasn't started running yet. It doesn't look too good. But this team has always been next man up mentality, so hopefully they can continue that in the playoffs. And finally, what does the $500 million man bring to the table against the New York Yankees, a team that he's notoriously done really well against? Let's go, Jays.
I think Vladdy's going to have a huge series. I don't know if he overshadows Judge, but I think Vladdy's going to have a huge series here for Toronto.
If he doesn't have a huge series, this is over very quickly. Because Bo Bichette, I mean, he hit 300 this year. He's not even running yet. He's not going to be back. The roster doesn't come out until Saturday morning, but he's not going to be back. He may not make the ALCS if they advance.
Right.
So Vladdy has to have a big series. Springer has to be the vintage Springer we saw all year, or else this is going to end quickly.
All right, let's move on. Last series, Tigers, Mariners in Seattle, game 1 Saturday night. I'm looking forward to this one. Scott Bentley, Locked On Tigers, with his perspective.
The way Tigers have beat the Cleveland Guardians and eliminated them from the postseason, I think the weight of the world just got.
And I do apologize. That's Scott from
the Win.
Yeah. So
okay.
that's from Thursday. Not sure what happened there. I do apologize. So we'll switch focus, get a little bit on the Tigers on the other side. We hear from Ty Dane Gonzalez. Fingers crossed I do have this one right. Ty Dane on Seattle. And I don't like the nickname, but the big dumper, Cal Raleigh.
It is finally over. It's time for the Mariners to kick off their postseason run. This is Ty Dane Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here. M's, Tigers, ALDS, kicking off Saturday night at T-Mobile Park. This will be just the second playoff game played at that stadium since 2001, and we all remembered what happened in the other one. 18 innings against the Houston Astros. Mariners get eliminated. Mariners get shut out. So if we're previewing this series and talking about the keys to this series, I mean, a good place to start would be, hey, maybe the Mariners should score a run or two, or 100 preferably, especially with the Tigers running presumably a bullpen game in game 1. And that's what makes game 1 so much more important to the Mariners than it is to the Tigers. Because in a way, the Tigers are kind of conceding that game to you. If the Mariners don't win that game, they lose home field advantage, and they're staring down a 2-0 deficit, because guess who's waiting for them in game 2? Maybe the best pitcher in the entire game, Tarek Skubal. The Mariners have to win game 1 of this series. If they don't, I feel pretty uneasy about how the rest of this thing is going to go. George Kirby countering that bullpen game in game 1. Luis Castillo in game 2. We'll see if Brian Wu is healthy enough to pitch in the series at any point. Kind of seems like that might not be the case, which also makes me pretty anxious about this. So we'll see how it goes, but it all starts with game 1. It all starts with a great effort from the Mariners in game 1. We'll see if they come through, and we'll talk to you on the Locked On Mariners podcast. See you then. Peace.
Ty Dane Gonzalez, Locked On Mariners. Hey, you're going to have apprehension right now. But this team, I'd be more focused on being positive with the Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, he worded it right. You've got to win game 1 because you're running into a buzzsaw. And if you go down 0-2, especially when you at that point have to leave your ballpark and go to Comerica Park, you're in a lot of trouble. So I'm not going to say all hands on deck, but it's got to be pull out all of the stops. You got to push and go for it. If it's close, you got to win game 1. But the Tigers bullpen has not been the same this year as it was last year. I think you can do it. I think you can take something against this year's version of the bullpen.
That is a wrap for MLB Game Night, postseason edition. Lindsay and I are going to be on board with you. MLB Game Night, Saturday into Sunday, recapping all 4 game 1s in the American League and National League Division Round Series. Don't forget to tell your friends all about us. This is MLB Game Night, every game, every night, and we'll see you Saturday after all the action is complete.